Morning. Sunday morning. Taking a walk in Alice Springs, Northern Territory, Australia. Don't know how well this is going to go, but we'll see. Walking by the river. Sometimes I guess it has water in it. GoPro's acting really strange. When I get back to the room, I'll have to figure that out. Well, I walked into town. I was going to use my GoPro, but of course it screwed up, didn't work. So now I'm going to go back to the hotel because I'm already hot and worn out and I didn't even get to really see anything yet. Made it to downtown Alice Springs though. Better than nothing, I guess. I got several more days. I need to start sooner and remember to bring water with me. It's plenty cool in the mornings. Gets hot in a hurry. Plus I don't know where anything is around here. So I'm just looking. I'll probably find a map. For all you golfers, that you see out there between the fence and the mountains is a golf course. Kind of challenging if you don't like sand traps. It's the Alice Springs way. Well, this is the trail up to Anzac Hill Lookout. Gonna give it a go. Didn't make it as far yesterday, but I'm here today. Let's see if I make it. Flies, lots of flies, lots of steps. Well, let's go. Not so sure this is a great idea for this old man, but I'm here, so I gotta do something. Pretty warm already today. Downright hot by our winter standards, that's for sure. time. Ain't setting no records here. I think there's a road that goes up here. Why do I want to make it easy, huh? Give a pretty good view, and I'm not all up there. This was one of the places I wanted to see when I was here, so I can knock this one off my list. Not that I actually have a list, but just some ideas in my empty head. Just like Alice Springs itself could say was on my bucket list, but again, I don't really have a bucket list. If I did, it would have been on there. I think it's about 2 miles from the hotel just to get to where you start this. So that means I gotta go that far to get back. This reminds me a little bit of the climb up to the lookout for Wineglass Bay in Tasmania. Although it's a little warmer here and less shade. And the trail there was, I was going to say better. This one's done pretty well too. If somebody like me can make it. Oh my. What did I let myself in for? I don't have to worry about crowds of people, do I? That means they're way smarter than me. Yeah, I think if I make this and get back to the hotel in one piece, I'm probably done for the day. know I started out yesterday, couldn't get much video because the camera didn't work that well. So I was talking about the river I was walking by, the Todd River. There's really no water in it. I don't really mean to make fun of it because in the rainy season it gets very full very quickly.
Total distance 1 mile. Total time 30 minutes and 38 seconds.
And I made it to the top. Whew. So, why do they call this Anzac Hill? Because it's like a war memorial. All Australia, New Zealand's forces in different wars over the year, including up to Afghanistan. Quite a view from up here. You'd think this place was flat and dry. Oh, it's dry, it's hot, but evidently it's not flat. Yes. Yeah, salute to our armed forces. Different things to read about the Gallipoli campaign. My lips are drying. Australia by a war, okay. Ah, too bright to see. South African Boer War. World War I. World War II. Korean War. Malaysian emergency. Borneo. I don't even know what happened there. Vietnam. No, thank you. Indonesia confrontation. Huh. They sure did keep themselves busy. Iraq, the first Gulf War that we were invited to. By the Kuwaitis. Afghanistan, we weren't invited, but we caused it, or we went to it. We initiated it, I'll put it that way. Actually, Osama bin Laden initiated it. But I'm sure that's not how they look at it. Okay. The other side. Get a pretty good view of I think down there that field is called the Anzac Oval, where they play footy and soccer and whatever. AFL, maybe even rugby. I don't know. I don't see the AFL Bowl, so oh well. Huh. Can almost see why Alice Springs is here. Kind of down in the valley where might have a little bit of water. Well, that was quite a climb. Now I got to drink some water and get back down. Should be fun, eh? Maybe, maybe not. Glad I made it up here. That's good. See, there's a McDonald's down there. May have to go rehydrate. Alright. Get some more on my way down. Okay, well, I'm going to take the relatively easier way down. So, I'm not the only crazy one. Somebody else walked up those steps behind me. Much younger than me, though. Alright, let's head down. Oops. Uh-oh. Which the way down? Oh, this, yeah, okay, this is the way down. That's the way up. This is the way down. Okay. It says trucks use lower gear, or low gear, excuse me. Well, I don't have any gears, so I'll just have to do what I can. I don't see a specific walking path. Guess you walk down the road. Most people drive. Only a few crazy people in the world. I just happen to be one of them. Hungry Jack down there. would be a Booger King at home. They got signs on this way up. The only thing the steps had was more steps. Helicopters, tanks, ships. The kind that float in the water, not the kind of deep grass. Crows are out in forest. Helicopters. Infantrymen, I would guess. Not smart enough to know the difference. Wind is going to blow my hat off. Can't have that. Noisy ute. Well, I have to say, that was a hell of a lot easier. And since I'm down to the bottom now, I'm just going to walk through town a bit, maybe find a convenience store, get back at the hotel. If I find anything worth putting on camera, I'll take some more film in. See you later on this trip. Well, today hasn't been too bad. Made it to Anzac Hill, walked around town a little bit, found a indoor shopping mall that was nice and cool, which was great. Got a Powerade and head back to the hotel. So now I'm back here walking alongside the Todd River again, which I didn't get much of yesterday. So we'll see how much we get today. Here we go. I think I've walked pretty good 4 miles or more today. Had my tracker on, but I kept forgetting to restart it. Typical. And that there's what I've been talking about, the Todd River. Just looks like a dry road, sandy roadbed. It does fill up with water. The street I just crossed back there had, the river goes over it when it gets wet. They had posts reading as high as 2 meters. They had well over 1 meter deep water coming across that road in the rainy season. Which obviously it's not now. Which is why I plan to come here now. This is after their winter rainy season, before it gets really hot. You can believe that. It's plenty hot. It's at least 90s today. Next 2 days are looking at getting up to 100. So we'll see. I may not be doing too much the next 2 days. Besides, that walk up Ansett Hill just about did my legs in. Too bad it's a little too confusing to try to get a bicycle here. Or for me anyway. Other people don't have a problem with that kind of stuff. That's just me. Might have to walk all the way into town to get it, which is probably close to 2 miles. Do my riding and then come back and then walk back. This would be a nice path to ride on, and they got a lot of nice bike paths around here. I mean, it's a little different, but they're there. They kind of go here, there, and they go to all the most of the important places. Still want to try to get to the telegraph station before I leave, but with the excessive heat coming, we'll see. It's a longer walk. I will try and make the botanical garden. No, I just passed it up there. It's not very far away. That's easy to do. You can see all the growth around here, which not really being funny. You think this kind of climate wouldn't grow anything, but it does. You know, like our deserts grow things too. The flight up here had a nice window seat. Wow. Really something to see all that land. No settlements. Only a couple roads here and there. Things that look like lakes, but they're not. Look like dried up sand once, I mean not sand, salt. Which I'm not even sure that's what it is. But of course, from 35,000 feet, it's kind of hard to tell unless you know exactly what you're looking at. I've flown across our great western deserts too, and it looks a little similar but different. I mean, here's such the expanse, and see so many things. It looks like that's where the water ran at one time. That may or may not be true. This is Alice Springs. That's why I came here. People say, what's here? I say, nothing. Which isn't true. There's a lot to see and do. I said if I could easily ride around in maybe cooler weather, I'd probably do a lot of sightseeing on the bicycle. This is good. I'm happy. Got the palm trees up there. Probably why they call that desert palms. Got a nice bench here. You can sit and gaze across the river. Which, when there's water in it, it probably is nice. Traffic here hasn't been too bad for me, which is another reason I wanted to come out this way. Get away from the big crowds of people. I just had to remember which way to look when I'm crossing the street. So I take my time and look both ways. Take no chances. Drivers do seem to be relatively courteous. So, no problems so far. Nothing I would complain about anyway.
Total distance 4 miles. Total time 2 hours 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
And my tracker just said I walked 4 miles. That doesn't include all the times I walked and I forgot to turn it back on. I bet I'm at least 5 miles today. I think my legs are going to be talking to me tonight. You can row your boat in the sand. I think they have sand boat races here. I think I heard that somewhere. Maybe wrong. All right. Most people are friendly. The Aborigines are Aborigines. Don't seem to be a problem. They just do what they do. There we go. And I'm back to the DoubleTree by Hilton. Right over there. See you tomorrow, maybe. Hi. I did manage to rent a bicycle. And I'm out here at the telegraph station. Actually, I'm a little bit past it now. Going to turn around and go back to it. Unfortunate part is I brought the wrong GoPro mount to fit these handlebars. And I'm not comfortable enough on this bicycle to ride one-handed. So we're only going to get video of when I stop and walk around a bit. Got a nice view out here though. Nice day today so far. Much cooler than it has been the last 2 or 3 days. I think we're only in the 80s by now, and probably not even that yet. Low 90s is going to be the high. A lot better than the hundreds. And the sun is not beating down on me so bad. It's a Specialized roll, which would not be my first choice, but it's a decent bike. Not wrong with it. I just have to get a little used to it. Can't be choosy when you're out somewhere else renting. Go ahead and go up here a little bit. So let's see what this sign says over here. Yep, that's what it says. Alice Springs Telegraph Station. Okay, well, I'm going to ride back there and look around the telegraph station. Catch you then. Well, park the bicycle and walk around a little bit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Bugger. I have to go pay an admission fee. I should know that. I did know that. I just tried to forget. Really out here just for the ride anyway. Nice quiet place. Don't tell me what you might find out this way. Critter or two maybe, maybe not. Seem to be a few people looking critters. There's the bike. It's usable. Guess this is where I pay.
We haven't had enough rain to get any water down there at all, so it's dry as a bone. So you would have seen me filling up the bird bath, and that's why. Because if there's no water down there, they know to come to the cafe. And the birds are actually getting smarter, so as it gets really hot, we notice if we have the air cons on, the doors shut, the doorways actually fill up with all the birds lining up, and they put their wings out and they're cooling down in front of the doorway. Yeah, so they've definitely worked out what's good for them. And today the way we're coming in is on the side of the station. Back in the day this would have been an illegal move, and that's because this is where they park the camel train. So you had anywhere between 50 or 150 camels lined up, so it would have been extremely high risk coming in through this side. So if you needed to come to this facility, you had to go through the small gate near the fire bin, then knock on the station master's door. But it was highly unlikely the average person was here to send a Morse coding message, and that's because of the price. It would have cost that person 1/3 of their annual pay, so pretty pricey. But it was a government controlled line carrying messages for the army, any surveying information, medical information, and then news back and forth to the British colony back to Australia. So what we'll do now is we'll head on over to these signs, but you will see the stockyards here on the left, and as you would know, it's the cattle industry. But when that picked up, that's what displaced a lot of your Aboriginal people. So if you like reading about abattoirs and slaughterhouses of the cattle industry, it starts here. So you've got your old-fashioned gully down the back, so this marks abattoir number 1. stop at this one because this talks about birthplace of a town, but your first government facility, that was a multi-purpose facility. But I always point out these whurleys. So this is how your Aranda people would live for thousands of years. And they actually lived like this on the outskirts of Alice Springs right up until the 1970s. So when you put that on a timeline, that's not that long ago. 1950s, in this area, it was still common to see Aboriginal tribes wearing a loincloth, holding a spear and a boomerang. So 1980s, when I was a kid, we used to ride our bicycles along the road that you would have come in. Along those hills, that's men's business, and along those hills, that's women's business. So in the 80s, we could actually hear the men doing their ceremonies with a didgeridoo, and the campfire and that. But you don't get that now. You get that more in the remote settings. But that just shows how strong culture is around here. Yeah. But I always point out these whurleys because when you compare Sydney's infrastructure to what was in Central Australia in 1875 even, you had an option for real estate out here for making yourself a whurley, living in an empty tree hollow, or having a makeshift tent. And Sydney already had roads, two-storey buildings, and the Cooper's Brewery was already in action pumping out glass bottles of beer. So there's your difference. So you're actually coming out here to nothing. But this is your government facility here. And then when the surveyors came through, somebody was lucky enough to strike gold. It's always about looking for the gold. And somebody found gold 200 k's over the hill at a place called Altunga. So that marks your first industrial civilization, and that's what built the population up around here. So you had this place operating as the Alice Springs Telegraph Station, and then the small town of Stewart started up, and then you also had Altunga, but Altunga failed because they could never get dynamite out there to make a well to source the water or to get the gold out. And then a lot of people were actually said that they didn't use their SAG office and declare their gold. So Altunga failed, and that pushed all those people into the township of Stewart. That's when your mailing system went haywire because nobody could work out what their address was. So you had the Alice Springs Telegraph Station, then the town of Stewart, and then your mailing system went everywhere. So they said, we'll take out the name Stewart and make the whole area Alice Springs. So that's how, yeah, that's how they got rid of the name Stewart. But in those same times, that's when the government opted for the Northern Territory to be cattle industry. But when they created this place and made settlement here, they wrote their laws and legislations to the Queen, and part of those laws were that they will not remove anybody off the land, any Indigenous people, and they will not displace the Aboriginal people either. So it was always marked as safe grounds, and that's still in play today under a special purpose lease agreement, and that runs from the back of these hills all the way down to your foothills of Anzac Hill. So it's still marked as safe grounds. But when the cattle industry picked up, that's where your Aboriginal people lost their water holes and lost their natural bush tucker. So they could relocate to here, but then it was catch-22 because the Australian law at the time applied to them because they were walking onto government grounds as well. So depending on the person in charge of a facility like this, all depended on how your people were treated. But we had Spencer and Gillen out here, so that marks a different story compared to your East Coast. But I'll take you to these signs here and explain some more for you. So this is a good photo of your Aranda people down at the waterhole. We don't have any water down there today, it's dry as a bone, but your giveaway is that nice big flat rock, and you can just sort of see it through here, just past that grapevine. But when they arrived, you had John McDowell Stewart come through first as your first explorer. He come back. That bird sits up here. Yep. Yep. There must be a nest up there, and I must be really disturbing him. So he was your first gentleman to create maps and take them back to the south. Then another group of surveyors came through, and they surveyed the land so well that they worked out this point here will never flood. So it's at one of the highest points in terrain. And when you make settlement, you need to make a surveying point. So down the back there, you've got Trig Hill, so short for trigonometry, and that's how they created more of those maps around Central Australia. But Mills, who was part of the second set of the surveyors, he had the opportunity of renaming the waterhole from the long word on the sign to Alice Springs. So he chose that name because they thought it was a good idea to name it after their boss's wife, Alice. So he's famous for opening Australia to the rest of the world for communication. and she's famous for never coming to the place that she's named after. And that's because she didn't like camels or flies and didn't want to travel 2 weeks with 7 kids. So she opted out, that's fair enough. And she remained living at hierarchy status in Adelaide with her husband, who was based at the observatory. But he was never here for very long, but he marked it as his favourite because he was a meteorologist and an astronomer. So if you wanted to do anything with your stars or your weather maps, middle of the country was very important. That's why they thought they should mark it after his most important person. But when your second set of surveyors arrived, they actually assumed it was a spring because the water was running down the rock. It was a really good wet season and there was a huge amount of water. But once the renaming took place and all the documentation got sent back, stamped, marked off, that's when the waterhole dried up, so they had to mark it as another semi-permanent waterhole. But that's how McDowell Stewart actually made it through. So he followed an indigenous track that was already there for thousands of years, and that followed all those semi-permanent waterholes all the way up to Darwin. And if you didn't have the skill to find those waterholes, you wouldn't make it through this country because it's so harsh. I don't think you'd get too much further than Tropic of Capricorn, to be honest, on a hot day. But Sir Charles Todd, he was appointed the South Australian Superintendent of Telegraphs and the Postmaster General of Australia, and he was also the project manager of the Overland Telegraph Line. So he moved over from England and he had a plan for about 10 years to create a new communication line that would connect Australia to the rest of the world. So what he done was he organised 3 groups of linesmen to install 36,000 wooden posts and the 12 telegraph stations. So at the same time as they were working on the undersea cable back to Indonesia and Java, as they worked overland, so that took just under 2 years to do. And they say it was a pretty easy going from Port Augusta up to Alice Springs, but they did hit some hard ground where they had to use rocks to hold the wooden posts in place because they just could not dig. But once you pass Alice Springs, you actually hit the Tropic of Capricorn. So that's when your climate changes, and the top team experienced floods, big cyclones and more tropical disease as well, and plus all your mosquito viruses. So that played a really big part in if you lived as well, right. And if you could complete the job. But they ran into some really harsh wet seasons where a lot of men were actually stranded and starved as well for a long time, but they don't talk about that too much. They just they talk about once you hit past Alice Springs, that's when the termites got stuck into the wood. So as fast as they put the wood in, termites come and ate the wood, so they had to double the job and replace it. But it was actually once you hit Catherine and going up, that was when those work crews had it really, really harsh. But he was the backbone of a real lot of inventions. So back in those times, he could not order the copper line that they were using around the rest of the world. So he opted to use that 9-gauge fencing line that we see around the property. That's how he connected it all together. And once they made the communication line reach India, that's when he created all of Australia's weather maps. So anything to do with a synoptic chart, trade winds, ocean temperatures. That's your man that done that without a calculator. Just done that with pen and pencil. And then they moved the line across to London. That shortened your mailing time from 3 to 7 months down to about 7 to 12 hours with the Morse code. But keeping it as a global research project, that's when he corrected all of Australia's time zones as well. And then to keep it as a multi-purpose project, that's when Australia had 550 telegraph stations in operation, he made sure all the workers were trained to read the stars, read the weather, send an efficient Morse code report to him by 9 o'clock every morning, and that report had to contain information about the stars and the weather. He took the information he needed and then he sold the rest of it to the newspaper companies. So every place operated like for postal service. This was an open food and water drop to anybody as well, and it was also open for medical assistance. And then you had your weather station. So we're still a weather station here. So when we get a significant weather event, we get to type in our information, and that goes to the Bureau of Meteorology still. So we're still marked as one of those special stations. And when the guys chose this spot, we'll never flood here. We're not even included on the major flood maps today. So 150 years on, it's like a piece of cake taken out on the map because we're never going to flood here. So that's pretty good going for back in the day. But it operated as 3 things. First, you had your telegraph station. Then it became a facility for your children where your story about your lost culture and stolen generation starts here. And then when you go through the rooms, that's your station master's building, station master's house. Original post office that then got turned into your station master's wife's personal kitchen. Behind there you've got your post office. When the post office moved into town, that became a medical clinic that cared for all the babies that arrived out here very sick. And then in your long room that they call the barracks, because that's the last thing that this place was. So telegraph station, institute for the children, and then it went on to be a army barracks or a native labour camp, and then after that it was left dormant. But when you go into that long room, that's got a big timeline of all the events in there as well, and there's plenty of photos in your schoolroom. And then your old kitchen's got the Coolgardie cooler, which I don't see, even if it was 10 degrees cooler, how your butter would stay. I don't think it'll work. So I said to someone the other day, if they put butter in there, that would have been melted by 7 p.m. last night. But yeah, go through, have a good look around, and if you've got any questions, you can come back and ask me in the cafe.
All right, thank you. This is
right.
awesome.
Quick question
Thank you.
about the
Yes.
telegraph line.
Some of the actual telegraph equipment and where he worked. Huh. Interesting. Did you get all of it? I didn't. Oh, it finally quit. Evaporimeter. I have no idea. But that's where they got water, I guess. Important, extremely important. Not really a spring, but a depression in the river bed where water gets trapped on top of layers. Okay. Well, right now it's nothing there. Dry, dry, dry. So they must have some pretty good wells around here somewhere. Telegraph wires on the pole. The Olive Pink Botanical Gardens. Seems to be a lot to see here. I'm not going to get around to see much of it. The one big hill I wanted to climb, I'm not going to be able to do it. So we'll just see what's here. Doesn't necessarily look like much to somebody who thinks of a botanical garden, but This is what grows naturally here. And me, I don't know anything about anything, so I just walk around and look at it. Probably the amazing part is stuff does grow here. Which I guess is not that amazing. That way all around the world. If you get a little bit of water here and there, something will grow. After the telegraph station, come here and walk around a bit. Probably catch something to eat in the little cafe they have. Go back to the hotel. Call my touristy business about to an end. Here in Alice Springs, anyway. One thing for sure, the bicycle made all the difference in the world. What took me 20 minutes to get to town is now 5 minutes. And that's not riding, that's riding very easy. So, should have done that right off the bat. Okay. Trudging on. The Overlander Path and Miss Pink. That must be who the named after. Olive Pink. And the view of Mount Gillen. That's probably Mount Gillen there. The peak. Okay. They say if you get to the top of the hill, you might see some wildlife, but that trail was way too difficult for me to try to do right now. Especially after I've already done walking around the telegraph station, almost a 10-mile ride already. Doing great, but not gonna be able to climb that hill. Besides, I'm carrying a helmet and other accoutrements. No way I would be able to handle that. Nice walkway. Over there's the road and the entrance, so I think we'll go this way. I may be botanicaled out. Getting hot now. Not bad, not like it was. This is still very doable. In fact, enjoyable to me. Except I don't have everything I normally have with me. That's the hill that you climb, but it's all rock steps and rocky paths, and literally have to climb it, which in years past I would have scrambled up there in a heartbeat. Wonderful getting old, isn't it? There's a bird in there, a couple birds. There's a galah. I think. No, that's not a galah. I don't know what that one is. Again, like plants. There's only a few things I recognize that I know. I just like to walk around and look at things. I don't know their names, what they are, or anything about them. Well, I know there's a lot more to see here, but you'll have to wait till I have something else going on. So, for now, that's it. Well, this is going to be interesting. Kind of neat though. I went out this road not even knowing where I'm going. I think it looks kind of neat out here. Nice bike path. Not a lot of houses. Not a lot of people. What I expected in Alice Springs. Have to excuse some of the stuff, so I have to reach down and shift. At least here I won't have to put both hands on the handlebars to climb a hill, so I can do this for a little while. This will be my last bicycle hurrah anyway, so. Open field here, mountains there. Should know the names of some of these mountains, but I don't. Seen them on the map, but I know I was at the Gap yesterday. This is looking from a different angle. I'm not sure, but I believe that could be the Gap there again. So. Uh-oh, got walkers in my way. Well, I could hear the bell, but he didn't. Probably not used to people doing that.
Total distance 13 miles. Total time 1 hour 50 minutes and 23 seconds.
I don't know. If that's the gap, or if the gap is over there on the other side of Mount Gillen. I believe that's Mount Gillen, the one that peaks up there. Different angle though, so I'm not sure. There were any people out here a minute ago. They must have known I was out, so they got to come out. Not too many of them smile and wave. A few do, but not too many. They're just not used to doing that. I find that at home in a lot of places too. Right around Peoria. All right. Now I'm gonna have to cross the street and head back up to the hotel. I think I've done my stuff. Whatever you want to call it. So I cross this road without crashing. Be a good idea, huh? Okie dokie. Off we go. Uh-oh. A non-Aussie. That's the casino, convention center. That is the Crown Plaza Hotel. I almost booked there, but I like the looks of DoubleTree better. And I think I'm about the same once I see them in person. That's the only problem I got out here at all is that if you want to get something to eat besides from their restaurant, you better have a car. Or at minimum bicycle, but even that's not so easy. But the restaurant food's fine. It's a little too fancy for me. that river tide. Not sure I want to see it when it's full of water. And there is the DoubleTree. Done for the day. Probably done sightseeing for Alice Springs.